How are you?
How are you?
Good. Let me plug my computer in so it doesn't die. Now tonight it's actually recording. Last night's meeting didn't record. Technology. All right, it's 9:02, so I am going to start the call. With 13 people on the line. Awesome. So, I'm going to mute everybody now. Okay, I'm going to mute everybody. And then I'm actually going to go back in and unmute Julie, because Julie's going to talk to you tonight, because I figured you guys are tired of hearing from me. So before we start, I just wanted to say thank you for a great May. I know May was really difficult for a lot of people, and it's very strange because May is usually a popular month because people are getting ready to go to the beach and for the summer and things like that. So it's kind of odd, but it's okay because I do this. It's all done, and we're on to June. So if you did not achieve Success Club, if you did not achieve your goals, you basically just take a look at it, take a look at the things that you did well, continue them, and think about the things that you probably could have done a little better, or maybe just new things, and just go on with your bad self. I have kind of changed who I am, and I actually talked about that in the video that I posted, because I just really was not in a good, happy place. And despite my success and despite a lot of things that were going on, I just was a little burned out and I wasn't happy. And so this job, who I truly believe it's a calling, and I truly believe that it's my passion. Sometimes you can take something and think about all the wrong things and put the importance on all the wrong things, and it starts to make you unhappy. And so one of the things I just wanted to say is I wasn't just unhappy in my business. I was unhappy in my marriage. I was unhappy with my family. I was unhappy with a lot of areas in my life. And very often we kind of like get this tunnel vision and we think it's the business and I got to run away from the business and the business and the business and the business. And I would guarantee that if you really feel like your business is in trouble or you feel like you're not successful in it, that you possibly could have other things going on in other areas of your life. I mean, I very rarely have I ever had somebody tell me that they're not doing well in their business and they tell me, you know what, Kim, everything else is perfect. My family's perfect. My marriage is perfect. My friendships are perfect. Usually it's like, and the reason I say this is because there's something bigger than the business. There's something bigger. So one of the reasons I decided to get a coach was because I was like, I'm going to fix this. And that's why I was like, I am not that woman anymore. I'm not the woman who just wants to keep beating herself up and be negative and be unhappy with the relationships that I had. And one of the things that I did was I really committed to personal development. I know I talk about it all the time. And part of me used to feel like a fake because I used to tell you guys to do it and yet I wasn't doing it. So now I have no qualms telling you that you should be doing personal development, because to me, it is the key to a lot of things. I think that all of you are amazing people and you're great coaches. And I think that it's the piece that goes along with kind of getting out of your comfort zone that self-development can help you with and can move you to a whole different place. And to a whole different place where you're not stressed about this job and it just becomes a passion kind of thing, and that energy comes back to you. So one of the things that I've been listening to is Les Brown, who I love, and he has a 14-day series, and today I was on day 8, and day 8 to me was like an aha moment, and it was talking about self-acceptance and what, self-love and that kind of thing. And it was talking about how when you know that you're not doing your best, when you know that you're not giving your all to what you could possibly be, it leads you to be a pretty miserable person. And I could not have put that in better words, because that's exactly where I was. I knew that I wasn't going for greatness. I knew that I wasn't pushing myself to do everything I could possibly do. So I kind of was always left with this icky feeling of just not being able to put myself out there. So he talked about 3 things that kind of people who lack self-acceptance have. So one of the things was they procrastinate, and I'm a huge procrastinator. And sometimes we talk about procrastination like it's just a normal thing, but procrastination is not a normal thing. It's a lot of it, people procrastinate because they feel like they're not deserving of what would happen if they really pushed themselves to be their best. So then therefore it's a form of sabotaging people or themselves. And some people, they talked about people who never discover how great they are because they're always sidetracked by secondary activities, right? We're always like, oh, I'll get to that tomorrow. I'll get to this tomorrow, and we're doing dishes and we're doing things that like really don't make us great, things that have to be done but don't make us great. And we put such an importance on, oh, the house has to be clean, or I have to, you have to say yes to everything that somebody asks you to do because you don't want to say no. All of those things affect you. The next thing is your relationships. Who are you hanging around? If you're hanging around people that don't want you to succeed, who constantly are like, are you on that diet? Are you working out again? You're obsessed. What are you doing that for? Those kind of relationships that you allow to happen, can hold you back. And then the last thing is no personal development. Personal development doesn't mean that you don't love yourself. There are very many people who are in a good place with themselves that still believe in personal development because they want to create an even deeper, better version of themselves. So then he talked about 3 things that you can do to figure out like where are you in self-development or in self-acceptance. And he said, evaluate yourself. Take a look at yourself. Take a look at your business. Take a look at your family. Take a look at whatever. How would you evaluate yourself? Do you really feel like you're giving your best? Do you really feel like you feel good in those roles? The next thing is, how do you handle compliments? When people compliment you, are you like the type of person that's like, oh, this old rag? Like when people are like, oh, you have a beautiful dress on. This old rag? Oh, your hair looks so beautiful. Oh, really? I just rolled out of bed. Really? You think it? So how do you just say to people like, hey, thank you so much. You made me feel good. And then the last thing is a big one. And that is, what do you expect out of life? What do you expect out of your relationships? Like, it's kind of like the woman who's always single, who always expects that men are never going to treat her well, that she's never going to fall in love, or people won't fall in love. People, I always think of my mom like this. My mom kind of always expects that something bad is going to happen, especially if something good happens. And that was like ingrained in my head. And I've had to change that. I've had to learn how to like rewrite that script in my head. So how do you get to a better place of self-acceptance? The first thing is love yourself. I hear a lot of people today like beating themselves up. And I'm reading these things that people are saying to themselves. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, I don't look at them like this. So ask somebody else. Don't just use your own opinion, and love yourself. The next thing is do good things for yourself. Honestly, when I was working with the Tony Robbins coach, he told me that I had to once a week do something for myself. Like whatever it was for enjoyment, that I needed to start filling in my schedule something that I wanted to do that was good for me. Because you know what? I stopped going to get my nails done. I stopped going to lunch with my girlfriends. I stopped going to girls' night out. And all I did was work. And no wonder it burned me out. So I have to schedule that, and you should schedule that in for yourself. And the next thing is to develop compassion. Despite your defects, we all know that we have defects. None of us are perfect. So despite what shortcomings we have to be compassionate with ourselves. I often think of this. I want you to think of yourself as a 3-year-old child. And the things that you say in your head, would you ever utter them to a 3-year-old child? And if you would never utter them to a 3-year-old child, you should never utter them to yourself. And then the next thing is tell people what you need. I know, with my husband and we've had to learn how to renegotiate our relationship and explain like what we needed from each other and what we expected. Because when you have a marriage or whatever you have, if the other person has to guess what you need, that's a recipe for disaster. So don't be afraid to tell people what you need. Don't be afraid to tell people, hey, I don't feel good when you tell me those things, or I don't like it when you say that. I had like the most amazing conversation with my mother this weekend, because usually when my mom comes, she's my kid's grandmother, and I don't really talk to her, and I don't have any kind of relationship with her. And this weekend I kind of like talked to her, and I said, hey, I don't like this. This makes me feel uncomfortable. This is how I feel. And I can honestly tell you, having that discussion, it doesn't mean that everything's perfect, but like I felt like I had 50,000 pounds off of me. And then do what you fantasize about. There's so many people that like have these ideas, and they're like, oh, I want to design this, or I want to do this, or I want to write, and they never do it because they think it's too big, or they think that they can't do it. But just do it, even if it's like an hour a week that you dedicate to this project, or whatever it is that you want to do it. You know what? I would love to be a singer. I am not going to be on the radio. I am not going to be on, American Idol, but it doesn't mean that I can't take singing lessons if I wanted to, things like that. And then the next thing is know when enough is enough in a situation. Unfortunately, some people stay in situations that they don't belong in. They deal with people that they don't have to deal with, even if it's at work. Like I've had people tell me horror stories, like that they're working in a place that's awful and stuff like that. And, one of the things that he said is, why is it that known hell is a better choice than strange heavens? And what he said is, why is it that people will always keep going back to this hell, this where they talk to themselves nasty and they feel shitty about themselves, when they could just take a chance with, maybe I should be nicer to myself. Maybe I should do nice things. Maybe I should expect better things. So I am going to be a person who is just going to keep hounding you about self-development, and you can call me crazy and you can call me all I want, but I know for sure that is absolutely why I'm on this planet, is to help other people learn that they are just as amazing, no matter how much, how many things they've been through, or how many barriers that they think they have. And since I've kind of reflected and changed that, I really have loved this business again. And I feel like I love using my business page again. And it's really allowed me to focus on what I like. So I am actually going to turn over this conversation to Julie, because Julie, I kind of like, when she first came in, I didn't know what to make of her, but I knew I liked her. And so I knew that she had that energy coming out of her. And I just think that along with just being a really hard worker, I think she gets the whole idea of self-development and energy and things like that. And before I turn it over, I just want to say we also have a new diamond Kristen Davis will be turning diamond tomorrow, which is exciting. And a lot of you are so close to diamond. I have to check every night. I check, my downline. And some of you are really, really close. There's like Kim and Sarah, Andrea, a lot of people. And I know that sometimes diamond seems so insurmountable, but it's really not when you start to see like, oh, I just need a piece here and a piece here and a piece here. And you'll get there, because I've never known anybody not to get to that goal just by keep plugging along. So I'm going to find Julie. Let me see where she is. Oh, the Jedi. How? Of course. All right. I'm going to turn the call over to Julie. Julie became diamond, and actually she's 1-star qualifying, and it's probably the fastest I've seen somebody go 1-star qualifying. So, Julie, you are unmuted, and the floor is yours.
Can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Well, I want to thank Kim for letting me take the floor a little bit, and I appreciate it. I'm very nervous because you guys know I'm not, I mean, I can do it, but I'm not really big on being on the spotlight. I'd rather just go about my business, do my little thing, and kind of go off. But I'll pull it off for you. But I don't like it because I'm a true introvert. So I'll get out there right now. But Kim asked me to talk tonight, and I was thinking for a couple nights before I started, what is it that I want to talk with you guys about? Because there's a lot of things I think I could share, but I was trying to sort of narrow it down in one thing. And I'm going to talk a little bit about fear, because that's the thing that I have with over the years, and it's something that I feel I believe in any coincidences. So I feel like the universe was set in a certain motion, and these sort of things are starting to fall in place in a certain way now. And especially with Beachbody sort of coming in sync with all the other things I've done in my life. So I think that this has kind of solidified it for me, being a Beachbody coach and overcoming the fear. So that's what I want to talk about. And I'm also somebody that kind of likes to cut to the chase. And I figure I want to give you something useful, something that you can actually maybe implement this week and try. So pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what I do. I'm going to give you the Jedi secret formula. I don't know. You can tell me if you like it. Maybe it's going to bomb. I don't know. But this is what I actually do every single week, every single day. I do want to just tell you guys like really, really quick, because I don't want to waste time about me, and there's like 100 other stories like mine. But I do want to tell you just how I got into Beachbody. Nicole, who's my coach, she sent me an invite. So the key word is she sent me an invite, right? And I knew Nicole, but I was actually good friends with her sister. So to me, Nicole was like my good friend's, kid sister. I was not in her class. I never really spent any time with her that much. But I was like, oh, Nicole sent me an invite. Okay, this looks kind of cool. And it was a Breakfast Club. So that's like my favorite movie, and I'm all 80s. So I'm like, oh, Breakfast Club, this could be kind of funky. Maybe we'll do some things with like the 80s and food. I don't know. So on a wing, I just like went in to the group, and everyone was posting about breakfast. And I didn't know anything about Shakeology. I didn't know anything about the fix. And they were all talking like Shakio and this color and that color. And I remember thinking like, what the hell are they talking about? But I didn't say anything. I just kind of caught on. I posted what I ate, and I asked questions. And then Nicole had suggested to me maybe I should do PiYo, because she knew I kind of liked yoga. So I was like, all right, I'll try this PiYo thing. But Beachbody, I honestly didn't think it was going to work, but my life was so screwed up at the time that I just said I didn't have anything to lose, right? I mean, I'd done other things, like I used to run, and I did some yoga, and I've dabbled in other things. So I'm like, look, it couldn't hurt to try it. So I tried it, and I don't know what happened, but she came to me at the right time. And like I said, I don't believe in any kind of coincidences. I believe that she came to me at just the right time. It was meant to be, because my mom was dying of Parkinson's disease. And my husband and I have been caring for her for like over a year. We were sick with like just exhaustion, driving, caring for her, all the stress of dealing with it. I was working, just like let you guys know, I was working a full-time corporate job. 50 hours a week I did. And then that wasn't enough, right? Because we lived in the city, we couldn't afford anything, and we were going bankrupt, to let you know that also. And I added 2 other jobs to that. So, and the second job was not Beachbody. So the Beachbody became the third job. So here I was doing my regular main corporate job and then 2 other jobs. And we still didn't have any money. And I started the program. I love PiYo. I really got into it. And something happened to me, which I talk a lot about with Heather Borromeo. We described this feeling together that like the fog lifted. And that's what it was like. All of a sudden, my like odd thinking, I was always tired. I was always exhausted. I was stressed. I was screaming at my kids. I never saw my kids, by the way. I would get home at like 8 o'clock. I didn't spend any time with them. The fog lifted, and suddenly everything that I had worked on in the past, everything that I saw in my future just became crystal clear to me. And I believe it was the combination of being in her group, having the exercise, the endorphins running through my blood, all of that, which we all, I mean, as Beachbody coaches, we all know that that's what's helping our clients and ourselves. But it all solidified, and I started saying, maybe I could do this. And Nicole was like, you can sign people yourself. I mean, you're technically a coach. You might as well, just go ahead and sign this person. And I kept trying to direct people to her, and she was like, no, you sign them. So that's how it all got started. And I just started talking about what I was doing, and it's just, like just the usual story of how you go about what you're doing and how it means something to you. But what I think is different for me is that I was doing my job, and I was doing Beachbody now as my third job, and I was doing it poorly. So I either put all my energies in Beachbody and was like cranking it out, and I used to work at like 9 o'clock at night to like midnight. That's when I did my Beachbody stuff. Or I'd sneak it in lunchtime or like on my lunch break. And I noticed that my work was starting to fail, like at my job. And I started to enjoy the coaching more and more. And then it just came to a head on February 14th. My husband and I had a huge fight about our debt and our family and what I was doing with my work. And I just said to him, you know what, we're on the wrong path. And I said, I'm going to plug on this. I'm turning the ship in a different direction. And I did. I said to him, it's a beautiful home that we're not using, that we're not living in, and we're paying astronomical rates of rent. Let's give it all up and let's move back to our hometown. And it's crazy, right? I mean, people who hear this are like, oh my God, I could never do that. How can you do that? Well, it was scary. I'm being honest with you guys. Like, I'm not, I know you may think I'm like a superwoman, but it's fucking scary. Sorry for cursing. But you know what? I had to take a chance. And it was the best decision that I ever made, because since I have done that, thing has just like organically fallen into place. I'm happier. I'm loving what I'm doing. My kids are ecstatic. They love being back in Shelter Island. My husband's better, because actually part of, I think, his self-esteem thing was that I was always the breadwinner and he wasn't. So now he's getting to work a little bit. He has a job now too. So he's working. He's kind of out of the home. He's feeling more into his role, and I'm doing my thing at home with the kids and my coaching. The best decision that I ever made. I never spent any moment, any day saying, oh my God, I should have gone back to my corporate thing on Wall Street, and, maybe I shouldn't have done this. But I'm going to use that as a seg to talk about fear and feelings. Because just because I did this and I was able to, start to coach full time, it's not without being scared, and it's not without, these fears that I have and these feelings that I have to fight every single day. But Kim was talking about personal development. I want to share with you some of the things I do. And this is what helps me, because these voices and these things that come up that are constantly telling me these doubts, like, oh, maybe, you should get that second community college job because maybe coaching really isn't going to pan out. So you better have a backup plan. I fight those feelings away because I know that I can do this. And I've already proven that I can do it, because when I quit my job, I set a goal and I said, I want to make X amount of dollars to start per month. And I already surpassed the goal that I set. And I did that in like a month and a half. And barely, I'm actually close to making half of what I made as a corporate director, where I managed like 90 people, stressed out every day, never saw my family, and was going bankrupt. But now I'm home in my house. So what I do to fight the fear is every day I do an hour of personal development. So I know people say you like do 10 minutes, do 15 minutes. I do a solid hour every single day. There have been a few days where I missed it, and when I miss personal development, I feel totally screwed up. I'm totally off track. So I do an hour a day. The other thing is I set goals on paper. Probably the coaches in our group think I'm geeky, but I used to like post my goals every Sunday night. And of course, I'm always like doing it at the umpteenth hour. It'd be like 12:30 at night, and I'd be posting my goals in the Fit and Healthy Coaches. But I would post what I do, and then I'd go back at the end of the week and I would see how much I accomplished. And whenever I wrote down my goals, I would usually hit like 9 out of 10. Maybe I'd miss one. Some weeks I hit them all. But I used to write them down, not just say them, but I would write them down. The other thing is that I have to minimally always take care of myself first. So that's one of my bottom lines. I work out and drink my shake, and I got that from my coach, Nicole. The other thing I want to say is that when I joined Beachbody, I think we have to have some kind of respect and be humble towards our coaches, our leaders. So when I joke with Nicole, and I joke with new clients too that I coach, I say, listen, when I joined and my coach said jump, I was like, yes, ma'am, how high? Yes, I'll do that. Yes, yeah. I did whatever Nicole said, because for me, it was like, you know, I'm laying out $160, you know, for PIO, and God damn it, I'm not going to do it half-assed. Like if I'm spending this money, then I want to do it right. So she must know what's right. So I'm going to listen to her. And whatever she said, I did. You know, she was like, listen to this podcast, read this book, do that. I downloaded all the books, I took notes, but I listened. And I think we have to remember that when you're a coach, you know, you're imparting wisdom, and you can't go in there because I knew I didn't. I knew that she had wisdom that I didn't. So I still listen to her today, and I listen to her then. So listen to your coaches, is what I'd say, your own coach. The other thing is that this is kind of an accident, but I never looked at anybody's feed. Now, this happened by accident because I actually just was not technologically savvy with Facebook, so I never saw other coaches' feeds. And I'm kind of bad about it. Like, I know I should even go in and probably support more of my people on my team, but I never looked at other coaches' feeds. I only did my own stuff. And I like to create my own. I don't want to know what everyone else is doing. And it's probably just by luck I didn't, and so I still don't know what they're doing. I mean, now I kind of look a little bit, and I say, oh, that's nice, and I try to support. But I never looked at other people's pages, and I don't think that you guys should either. I think you should focus on your own things. The other thing is that I cleaned out my friends. I think Kim was just talking about this. So I went back to my social circle, and I was finding that all the coaches that I was starting to spend time with in Beachbody, I was in sync with, and some of the old friends I had for like 30 years. And I did a inventory, and I cleaned up and cleaned out people, and I stopped hanging around with people who were sucking my energy, and included people in my family. I also set boundaries with my family members, with my husband, with my kids. The other thing I want to say is you have to play your own side. This is my own term. So if you think of a tennis court, I think we do a lot of, and I'm prone to this. So I have to constantly battle it. You have to play your own side on the court. When you hit the ball, stop running over to the other side of the court and try to hit for the other person. Hit it. Let them return the serve, how they want to return it. So I think we're constantly like, you know, going over and then hitting it back and coming over and assuming this and assuming that, and oh, she probably didn't order this because of that, or he's not going to buy this because of that. You don't know. So you play your side and let them return the serve. So that's my own thing, and that's what I practice every day with customers and with colleagues. I also took Chalene Johnson's Courageous Confidence course, which I highly recommend. I did it in the winter. It's the impetus of how I quit my job, because I got so many resources that I found useful, and it sort of built up my confidence to do that. I will find you guys that I have negative thoughts that creep in, and what I do is I use this formula. I use this formula every single day. I was telling Heather, on a bad day, I might be actually using this formula every 15 minutes or so. It's like an extremely bad day. If it's a good day, maybe, 2 times a day. But formula, deal with my feelings. And I think part of the reason why some people maybe are feeling like they're not being successful, or they're not feeling comfortable with what they're able to express publicly or what they're able to do with customers or each other is that they're not making room for their feelings. This is not an easy thing, but you have to, if you think of like a crowded room, if you guys imagine a closet that's like overstuffed with stuff, that's what happens with our feelings. We've got all these feelings and we know like, oh, I'm angry, I'm scared, I have anxiety, I'm worried, I'm happy, I'm sad. But we just say it like, oh yeah, I'm angry. But we don't really acknowledge the fact that no feeling is good or bad. So you can feel fear, you can feel anger at someone. The fact that you feel it is not good or bad. So I wrote down a quick example, and I think I shared this in the Fitzbeer Empire. I had this one customer who wanted like the cheapest program. She wanted TurboFire, and then she couldn't find it, and she thought it was $140, but it wasn't. And I went back and forth with this woman. I happen to know her from the community, so I've known her many years. I went back and forth with her on the phone, texting. I gave her scenarios, analogies. She couldn't get the math right. She didn't understand. Anyway, in the end, she didn't want to sign as a coach. And then I was still trying to get her information, and she texted me back, and this actually happened, she texted me yesterday. And she said, oh, I couldn't wait anymore. I went ahead and bought Shakeology on eBay because it was cheaper. So I know that you guys are sitting there listening to my story, and I know what you're thinking because I was thinking it. It was like something like Sigourney Weaver out of Aliens. I want to be like, and just like devour her and like, wipe her off my mouth and be done with this bitch. It's like, how could she order off of eBay, So what I do is, if I use this formula, this is what I do. I say, okay, it's true. At that moment, I was extremely angry at her. I had my little fantasy of like, coming out and eating her up and spitting her out. But I accept the fact that this is not a good feeling or a bad thing. It just is that I'm angry at her because I wasted my time with her. I put all this effort, and then she buys it on eBay. Okay. So I say I accept that. Then I'm aware of the fact that I'm angry. So just because you can say, well, I know that no feeling is good or bad, that's not enough. You have to say, okay, I'm angry. I'm identifying that I'm feeling angry. And then you have to ask yourself, you have to examine this feeling. So I look at it and I take a deep breath and I say, okay, you're angry at her. Should you really be angry at her? No. She doesn't have financial means. Maybe she's struggling. Maybe I'll go so far as to say that maybe she thinks she's getting away with something because she got a better deal on eBay. She's still in my group, right? And I'm her coach. So my responsibility to her is not really to sell her something else. It's to take care of what's already in progress. So she's already doing 21-day fix. She needs help. She needs a coach. That's who I am. So I can't really get angry at her for doing it. I mean, she may be, not too smart for doing it, and it's not really I wouldn't do it because it's not cool. I think you should invest in the company and have it backed by the company. But okay, she didn't do it. So I examined this feeling and said, okay, I'm angry and this is why, but it's not really rational that I should be angry. And then the last step I do is I say it out loud. Now, if somebody has heard me and the anger or the fear is in conjunction with somebody else, I actually express this feeling to the other person. In this case, I didn't express it to her. I did I texted her and I said, and I just kind of shower her with sweetness. And I said, I personally would not have done it that way because when I buy a product, I want to make sure that if something's wrong with it, like maybe I can exchange it, or if there was a defect in it or it didn't taste right. I said, if you buy from a third party person, you don't really get that. I said, but you know what? I said, the most important thing is you got it. So I said, keep kicking. And that's what I texted her. So I expressed it to her, but I expressed it in my car out loud. Okay, you're angry. It's not rational. She's the one that will lose in the long run. That's kind of sad, but I can't control her. And once I do that, if you think of that, the picture I gave you before of the crowded room, I've made room for that anger. I found a place for it. I placed the anger in a room. I did not try to bury it. I didn't try to hide it. I put it in the room with all my other feelings and I leave it. And that is what I perceive as integrating your feelings. So you accept them. You are aware that you have it. You then examine it to see how rational it is or not, and then you integrate it into yourself. You don't bury it. You don't try to say, oh no, I can't feel that, or I'm not feeling that. No, you feel it and you let it be, because all feelings are just feelings. They're meant to be, not controlled. So I do that, and that's pretty much how I operate every single day. And then I'm just going to end in a couple minutes, but I want to say some other examples of, I just wrote down this is only 2 days worth of possible negative things that could creep up and affect my business. So I showed my husband how good I did this month in making income, right? So this is my husband. You figure he'd be all like happy, right, that I made all this good money. No, he says, well, it's not really that much if you think of all the time that you have to spend, coaching people, and you're always on your phone all the time, and all those death calls on, on the video phone, and you're sucking our internet. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I can look, and I could get really mad. I could get really down about myself, but I don't let it. That's the thing. He has his feelings, and that's fine. I know that I'll be laughing later when I buy him a new car, because that's my plan. My plan is to make 6 figures, and I'm going to buy him either a better motorcycle, or I'm going to buy him a brand new car that he wants. And he'll be shocked, and I'll be laughing, because I'll remember this conversation that he had where he said, well, you're not really, you're doing a lot. You're not really making that much. That's one example. Another one he said, which Kim will laugh. He said, I don't believe that Kim's really making 6 figures. I won't believe it until she shows me her tax return. So I was like, no, I'm not going to ask Kim or Rosalina to show you her tax return, because I believe it, and I don't need to see her tax return, because I've already seen what I've done in a short amount of time, so I know it can happen. And the last thing was, I saw, okay, so then this was also happened yesterday. I saw a coworker on Facebook who became a coach, and she's a sign language interpreter just like I am. So the initial thing was like, oh my God, there's another Beachbody coach who knows ASL. She's probably going to try to start a challenge group with deaf people. She's going to do better than me. And that was for 2 seconds until I did my little feeling formula. And then I realized, no, she's got nothing on me. I mean, that's great that she's a coach. In fact, I texted her and I was like, and I honestly didn't know. I'm like, you're a Beachbody coach? So I'm like, this is great. I'm like, I'm a coach and we should hang out and talk to each other. So I turned something that could potentially be negative into a positive. And that's what I always try to do. But what I'm describing to you guys, it's not something that happened overnight. I've been working this particular formula for years, but something happened with Beachbody and who I am. It just kind of came together. And for some reason, I have never been able to work this feeling formula as well as I am now. So I did it kind of haphazard in the past, but I definitely feel more calm. I feel more in control. I always start with myself first, and then everything seems to organically move out. And the stuff that Kim was talking about, when Kim was on the last call, I think, and she said something about that I think she called it juju, right? Or something like that, all this juju. When she said that, I was like, oh my God. I mean, she was using it to be light, but it's serious. Every day when I feel like I'm at the worst and my business sucks and it's going awful, the next morning I will wake up and I'll have messages in my inbox that people want to buy challenge packs, or they want to buy Shaky, or they have a friend who wants to talk to me, or some new deaf person. And it always happens, and I don't know how it happens. It's like magic. But I think it happens because I think we all need to work on our feelings. We need to work on our fear, and fear is just a feeling. So I'm trying to bring this down for you, the basic bare bones skeleton structure is just, you have to make room for your feelings. You have to acknowledge them and stop beating yourself up for having this feeling. No feeling is good or bad. We just are. And that's how we should operate. And I think if you guys can do that, that's going to be the crux, the core of how you're going to do well in coaching. That's what I do. And I can only impart to you what I do. And that's all I know, because that's all I know. But
I think it was awesome, and I think that people automatically see your authenticity. I feel like, listening to you, my biggest issue was that I really felt like I wasn't allowing my coaches to feel their feelings. I was telling them push it down. No, you should not be worried, or no, you should brush that off. And It all was because I wasn't feeling my feelings. I wasn't allowing myself. And so whatever you don't do as a coach, you will produce coaches who do that. And, and that's why I had coaches coming to me that were like, I feel like I disappoint you and I don't want to talk to you and I'm afraid and whatever. Like, why not? Because I like basically made it seem like they couldn't be afraid. They couldn't, doubt themselves. They couldn't do all these things when I was like drowning in all that stuff. So thank you for talking about that and sharing that your formula and what it works, and it works for you, and hopefully it'll work for you guys. So thank you so much for everybody for being on the line. It is June 3rd. We have a whole month, and basically what I was talking about, what Julie was talking about, I do believe there's a little bit of magic in this business, and this magic begins with you, and it begins on that day where you have had a shitty day, when you have had a return, when you have had somebody who you thought was going to sign with you go sign with somebody else. It's that thought that you just go to bed and you're like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, and my business is going to be okay. And literally the next day, somebody who you have never spoken to or you forgot about, like they're like, hey Kim, how do I sign up to coach and all this other stuff? It is magic. It really is. So grab yourself some of that magic, because I think we can all use it. So thank you so much for being on the call, and have a good night. And thank you, Julie.
Welcome.